Hey Al,
Hey Joe.
how goes it?
Yeah, not too bad. How have you been?
Yeah, okay. Obviously, there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel with the pandemic and all.
Yeah.
So what's the first topic of the day? Well, it's got to be Sony, and
Mm.
I've titled this one "Complacent or Evil." There's
Yeah.
there's no other way of putting it. But there's been a lot of negative press around Sony and PlayStation
Mm.
recently, and really, I just wanted to kind of dissect it, dive into it,
Mm.
analyze it a little bit. If I look at the timeline and how this has all come about, obviously it's last gen now, not current gen.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
PS4, Sony were obviously well on top.
Mm.
During that E3 announcement, big misstep from kind of Microsoft in the way they constructed their message,
Yeah. Yeah.
where it seemed to be more about media and television. Sony kept faith with the kind of core gamer.
Yeah.
They had a lot of characters there. Shuhei, Andrew House was there, Jack Trenton, still running the US arm of PlayStation, Adam Boyes. Characters like that
Mm.
who were very engaging for
Yeah.
gamers, I would say. That was the face of PlayStation at that time.
Yeah.
People like Sean Layton came later, but again, a genuine gaming person, if you like,
Yeah.
gaming professional. He's produced games. Jim Ryan's been there or thereabouts as well for a
Mm-hmm.
while.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I was concerned, he was never on the forefront. He was, I believe, the guy always running the either UK or European division of PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so obviously Sony had, a super stellar last generation,
Yeah.
and Microsoft less so at the start of that generation. But then obviously they start to come back.
Yeah.
They reversed the direction with Xbox, made it more about the gamer.
Mm. Mm.
Equally, did a lot of work with backwards compatibility during that generation, and that's where it all started.
Yeah.
They also released the Xbox One X,
Yeah.
which is again another core gaming product, if you like. And at that point, obviously, started to gain a lot more traction, I
Mm.
think, and a lot more kind of goodwill and mind share and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, coming up to close to current day, obviously, a lot of these faces like the Jack Trentons, Andrew House, Sean Layden, Adam Boyes, they've all gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Shuhei's still there, but he's got a smaller role.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's basically doing more work with the indies,
Yeah.
while Herman Holst from Guerrilla Games is, taking on the role of kind of head of Worldwide Studios,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is a good thing, really, because again, he's from that games development community,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
that's really what you want to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we've lost a lot of those faces. Microsoft, on the other hand, they've got Phil Spencer at the helm. They've got these other supporting cast members.
Yeah.
They appear to be, for the gamers, quote unquote. They appear to be open.
Mm-hmm.
If you could physically approach them, you'd say they feel approachable. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
Well, I think even, Microsoft had already started to make ground with, and we've talked about it in the past with the Game Pass and other things. They already started to push an improvement in the PSN Plus offering and things like that. The games and everything had to, there's a lot of comparison between those two things, and they'd already started to push Sony more and more in that kind of period.
Yeah, and I genuinely think, in terms of the offering, Microsoft really did start to close the gap
Mm.
at the tail end of the last generation.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, they may not have closed the gap in terms of sales numbers, but they certainly closed the gap in terms of mind share
yeah,
and the perception of gamers have of them,
yeah,
the amount of goodwill they're generating with backwards compatibility and the like. And again, Xbox One X, the most powerful console of that generation, no
yeah,
doubt about that. That's a good product to have in your armory.
yeah.
That's where it was, and obviously PS5, Xbox Series X and S launched.
Yeah.
But on the run up to that, I mean, my observations were Microsoft super open,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
lots of communication.
Yeah.
Sony less so,
Mm-hmm.
quiet, very quiet.
It was
You know,
definitely Microsoft were leading the charge in, showing its full engineering stack, saying what it was kind of going up with. And then there was a raft of Sony ones, I think, kind of coming after it, which gave a bit more detail. And obviously, Xbox didn't do great on their on their gaming offering with Halo Infinite and the rest of the lineup there. But yeah, it was an interesting
Yeah,
period.
I agree.
Mm,
I mean, to be honest, Xbox were extremely open,
mm,
especially with some of the specs.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
obviously they announced a teraflop number quite early on. How much you read into that,
mm,
is another thing. But that was announced. Sony then did the technical walkthrough
yeah.
with Sony. Not particularly well received by your typical gamer. Hard to understand. And where are the games, right? And up to that point, you would say, yeah, there were some concerns here because Microsoft have got all the goodwill. You
mm,
know, they're delivering the message properly.
yeah,
But then Sony had that showcase where they obviously showed the machine itself, the PlayStation 5 itself,
yeah,
and a raft of games. And Microsoft did something similar with the games, but obviously had Halo Infinite,
yeah, yeah,
and not a good showing for Halo Infinite. And then, things changed a little bit.
yeah,
Everything launched. Sales numbers, or some of the sales numbers are in, and obviously both consoles selling extremely well.
yeah.
PS5, as we know, leading again.
Mm-hmm.
But then, there's now a raft of negative press coming out for Sony. What are the list of misdemeanors?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Games increases to £70 or euros or dollars.
Yeah.
No real game preservation strategy.
Mm.
I mean, backwards compatibility for PS4 games is excellent, incomplete, but beyond that, there isn't a lot.
Mm.
They don't seem to be engaging the gamers as they did before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be down to either the situation with COVID
Mm.
or, in actual fact, the characters that run PlayStation at the moment. Or,
Yeah.
or everything, or everything.
I mean, I think there's a number of things probably with delays in various products, and probably there's. I think they're both in kind of still holding patterns of, releasing kind of really good big AAA titles on both platforms to really kind of get things really going on it. But I guess
Yeah,
we've also
I believe
seen
that's
some
the
stuff
case.
recently. I guess on the PSVR too, as well, at least. So there's been some trickles of stuff.
Yeah, but it's been so low key,
Mm,
if you know what I mean. It's been like, here's a blog post.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
that, it's like it's a very unexpected one as well. The whole PS5 internal HD expansion
Yeah,
being locked as they wait for, I guess, the right SSDs to be
to be available.
either
Yeah,
available or tested.
yeah.
It's got to be quick enough. Not having the feature where you could offload games to an external hard drive, put it in cold storage and offline storage. The UI not really being fully fleshed out. I mean, it's a snappy UI, don't get me wrong, but it's not as feature rich as it could be.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you hear trickles that they're planning to make a remake of The Last of Us. The first, I mean, how old is that game? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Why are we talking about a remake now? If it's accurate, yeah.
yeah.
And then there doesn't seem to be a Game Pass alternative from Sony in sight. And I'm not saying it absolutely needs to be a like for like equivalent to it, but there has to be something,
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
yeah.
Because at the moment, the PlayStation services, if you look at it, it's pretty fragmented. They've got, obviously your standard PSN. They've got PS Now, PS Plus. They've got PlayStation Collection. That's only for PS5.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fragmentation there. You think so? What's going on there? And
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
go Al.
I was gonna say that they should do something to take advantage of the wider company that they've got, right? The movie side
Well,
of things. There's so much content and stuff that they've got that just doesn't. Yeah.
I'm gonna talk on that. I mean, it's an interesting one, and I did put out a video. I'm plugging my videos again, of course, right? About the one Sony strategy, and we should talk a little bit on that because I think in part it feels like that explains some of their behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, does it? It feels like it does explain some of their behavior.
Yeah. Oh, so maybe it is a lull. Maybe it is a lull period whilst they're reorganizing all that and reshaping it potentially.
Maybe. And the one other big thing recently is that they announced the closure of PS3, PS Vita, and PSP stores.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only to subsequently reverse that decision the week just gone.
Mm-hmm.
At least for the PS3 and PS Vita, I mean the PSP stores, still going down.
So have they reversed that decision?
Yeah, they've reversed it.
Okay, interesting.
Jim Ryan wrote another kind of blog post.
Okay.
So at least that's happened, and they're listening from that perspective.
Yeah, because it's a strange one. Because if you think about, and I don't know if I don't know if we've spoken on the podcast, but it's just like if you think about the stores and the content and the library of things that you've purchased on PS3 format or PSP format, then you kind of expect to have that available in kind of perpetuity. And as long as Sony then offer it up as a an emulator or a thing that can play that content for you, you should still be able to access it. That's what it feels like anyway. Because otherwise they're going to end trying to sell you it again. Because I don't know how many versions of Final Fantasy IX I've got across multiple different platforms.
I do think in terms of the store closure, let's be honest, the stores do need to close at some point.
Oh yeah.
They reversed the decision, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it was handled was so piss poor. It was just unbelievable. I mean, there's one podcast I listen to. I think it's Sacred Symbols, and the guy that runs it, Colin Moriarty, he actually develops PS Vita games, or he has a company where he develops PS Vita games. They actually bought a development, or was it a testing tool or a development kit? I can't remember which. From Sony. Just before they announced the store closure.
Well, that's not nice, is it?
You just thought to yourself, how can that have happened? How can that have happened? How can that have been allowed to happen? It's just, how well planned was this? If you know.
I mean, it sounds like the tools. It sounds like the Sony tools department is separated from that of the store department or something, which is ridiculous, really, if it's part of the same format.
Yeah, I mean, something like this. The decision's made. The relevant department's obviously informed, and then there has to be kind of an approach to basically kind of sunset some of this stuff. An approach where you don't piss everybody off, including the people that buy your product. So that was a strange one for me. The way I'm thinking about this now is that look, Sony definitely won the last console generation. No doubt about that. So let's just get that out there. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. They won it on multiple levels. Yeah. Sales, mind share, the quality of the software,
the VR stuff. They had many levels of advantages.
Yeah, and it's too many wins. Microsoft did do a lot of good work in terms of clawing themselves back, so they still part of the conversation. That can't be denied either. So what I would say here is that given that's happened, Sony is now a target. They're a massive target. For Microsoft or anybody else. Let's not forget, while Sony is the number one in terms of console gaming, right? As a company versus Microsoft, they're small. Let's not forget that. When we say who the underdog is, when you just think about just gaming, definitely Microsoft the underdog in this conversation. But when you look at everything, it's a David and Goliath type of battle. And believe me, Sony isn't Goliath. Microsoft's Goliath, But they've got a target. It's sometimes it's easier to chase than it is to basically lead.
Yeah, well, it's the same with the other the other industries as well, right? As you kind of put it, whether Sony is complacent or not, or or just doing bad things,
or purely evil. That's the other thing. I mean, if they are being complacent, and we've seen that Sony before. We saw that Sony at the start of the PS3 era. And again, they did claw it back towards the end.
I mean, I would push it even further back, right? I remember back in the day when they had the Veo laptop market. They were so far ahead of the industry back then, and they did. The problem was I think they were just charging too much. Plus, they had the proprietary memory sticks and all this sort of stuff, which just people were like, "What the hell is this?" And it just disappeared. And same with like Sony. I mean, Sony Walkmans are still kind of there to an extent, but there's a lot of stuff that they had back in the day that they got very complacent around, and maybe they did change focus on for other things. But it's a shame that they have to kind of go through these cycles.
I genuinely do not think they can lose the gaming business because they're making so much money out of it, right? If you think about all the other businesses, this is the one business where they have the leadership
Yeah.
position and it generates so much money for them. I just don't feel they can be second.
It would obviously be very bad from a strategy perspective, right? If yeah, you would hope that they're not aiming for some level of complacency, and actually they're still aiming
Yeah.
to keep on top of that, and continuing to push that market, because
Mm.
we've mentioned PSP already here. I would love to see another PSP kind of come out from those guys, and have some access to content, whether it's PS4 content, or other things. Having a portable PlayStation kind of thing again would be very, very great. Give
I mean,
Nintendo
that's
a bit of a competitor in the more mobile portable kind of range.
mm, but will they do
Mm.
that though?
Yeah, we
That's the
don't know,
thing.
because we don't know if that's
Yeah.
they probably never thought about it, or whether they're willing to reinvigorate it. We know obviously they're focused on PS5 and even the PSVR 2 and stuff. But what else? What else is it? What else? Yeah.
Yeah. Sony's, as a company, are they able? Are they able,
Mm.
to have so many bets?
Yeah.
Because it's not just the PS5 nor the PSVR 2, but they've got a services
Mm.
kind of business
Yeah.
that needs investment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If they
Yeah.
do decide to do a bit more with streaming, they've got data centers to run. I don't think anybody can just bring out, let's say, a standard sort of gaming portable device.
Yeah.
It has to be something like a Switch that does
Yeah.
something a little bit extra.
Yeah.
We talked about it in one of the podcasts. I felt that they went all in with a new PlayStation Portable in VR,
Mm.
maybe a portable device, kind of like a PS4 that runs the full back
Yeah.
catalog.
Exactly.
Not
Yeah.
even a Pro. You don't need that for a portable, and then have it power a very cheap VR headset.
Yeah.
Maybe a chopped down PSVR 1 where you just plug in that portable device.
Mm.
That's your kind of cheap wireless portable VR headset, like like the Samsung thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you've owned that, and
Yeah.
I think the Quest does something similar. It's got an inbuilt kind of ARM processor and that
Mm.
kind of type of hardware. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, this is all food for thought. But I mean, I think are Sony being complacent? Don't know that they are, but
Mm.
I think there's a danger of that.
Yeah. I think the proof will be obviously, how obviously it's the whole PS5 versus Microsoft battle, and how that evolves as the releases of the games come through. I think some key ones around God of War and Horizon 2, I think will be big. Get
Yeah,
that over the line. That will cement their position.
I think it'll
Yeah.
be telling, how they look at the end of the year.
Mm.
When you're at the top, right? You're a target. There's going to be a lot of negativity
Yeah.
because let's be honest, right? People like to see other people fail.
Well, people like to
That's
back an
the
underdog, I think, is the other thing, right?
Yeah, that's a more positive outlook. But I just think people like to see people kind of fall. Like that's it makes a good story. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
The same way they like to see the underdog succeed, right? Same sort of thing.
yeah, yeah,
But I genuinely think that in order to fully ascertain what kind of shape they're in,
yeah.
are they complacent or otherwise, right?
Mm.
End of the year, have they dropped a lot of amazing software? Number one,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Are some of the promises they've made with the PS5, whether it's the SSD or whatever else, are we seeing genuine evidence
yeah,
that was real? And it will be down to the software and how have some of these promises been kept? You know what I mean? And all of that sort of stuff.
yeah. Exactly.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I would like some sort of response to Game Pass because at the end of the day, there's really no response to Game Pass. And again, I maintain it doesn't have to be
mm.
a like for like, yeah. But if there's no genuine response to Game Pass, that means Sony is basically being a little bit complacent.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you need to get back into the conversation. And if you don't think you need to get back in the conversation, that means you either don't care or you think you got the kind of market by the balls. You're not letting go.
I mean, it's typical kind of corporations, right? Where they can basically, if they know they've got a massive lead and they're happy with the product that they've got, then do they take a bit of time, take stock, spend less on other innovative stuff, whilst they just take advantage of the margin that they're getting on the cash cow that they've got, right? And just sit on it for a bit. and then because I guess even if you were to innovate, it's similar to the discussion we had around the stores and who's whose lunch are you actually taking from, right? Is it going to be taken from themselves, right? Is it something that they innovate, the PSP or something? Would it actually just take away from the PS5 market and the digital version and things like that? So maybe it's some of that too.
You've also got to fight on the same battlefield,
Mm.
if you know what I mean. If the war's across a country and you're just battling for a town,
Yeah.
the war's lost. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. If you treat the PS5 as air superiority, maybe then you may be all right.
Maybe so. But it's like what is your battleground now? I mean, is it just the consoles or is it console and PC? Is it just about software? What is it? Is it multiple fronts?
Yeah.
What is it? It's that's the worrying thing. If they're banking on success being just about console,
Yeah.
I think that's going to be short-lived.
Oh yeah.
I don't think for a minute that's what they're thinking. But
You would hope not, but obviously we'll find out by when we have a further chat about it towards the end of this year.
Yeah, I mean that's right. I mean, I do feel them making steps into going to PC just shows something, and equally the amount of investment into Epic shows something else. There's a lot of things at play here. I kind of feel.
Yeah.
The other thing here is that forget about complacency. But let's just give kudos to Microsoft that they're doing a super job. They've been open in terms of how they've launched their Xbox Series X and S. They've clearly engineered an excellent product.
Yeah.
They've got people who leading that division who speak to gamers. If I'm being honest, more so than Sony have at the moment. No doubt about that. So to your point about seeing an underdog win versus seeing someone fail, right? Maybe we should be saying, well, you know what? The reason Sony looks bad is because Microsoft are being so good. You know what I mean? They're doing extremely well, and they're pushing the right buttons here. And long may that continue, because thinking back to the PS3 days, I mean, launching that so-called supercomputer that no one could afford to buy, right? And having like absolutely no real games on it for a while. I mean, that was blatant complacency and arrogance. That's what I would call it. They were a bit arrogant.
Well, you can when you're at the top. I mean, that's what can happen.
Yeah. But, just don't forget about who put you there. Do you know what I mean? Who put you there? You're a product company and you're selling products to consumers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, I don't think they're evil. Yeah, I mean, even with the games price increase to £70, I think, to be honest, factor inflation in. Factor the fact that AAA games are so expensive to produce these days. I think that's a little bit, inevitable.
Yeah, for a full game, the 60-70 mark for a unreleased AAA title, I think is a valid thing, and especially when you then compare the content of that versus obviously free to play games versus microtransactions and a very different model of how to fund games and stuff, right? So, I think it is. The amount of effort that they probably have to do nowadays is, should be more. But then, maybe part of it is, maybe the discussion that we have at a later point around the whole engines and making it easier for game developers to be able to produce these games, right? And maybe technology improves that over time.
I think that's the one danger, Al, though, that you pin a price to a certain level, and then it never drops off, because if people continue to pay for it, that's now the standard, and it's like the danger with computer hardware as well.
But it's interesting, right? Because obviously when you look at Steam, then you don't have that issue, right? Because indie developers then offer up the price that they want to do. Obviously, plus on top of, obviously Steam and Valve's cut of that number. But still, there's very different offerings of price on Steam.
Yeah, but no one's saying that every game's 70 either. I mean, let's be clear on that. I mean, that feels like the upper end.
Yeah, it's the AAA big game that will do that.
Yeah, correct. I mean, there'll be games that aren't 70, and there'll be games that I think the likes of Sony will give away, and we've seen that. We've seen that already. With some of the titles that they were talking about at launch, like Destruction All Stars,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oddworld, Soulstorm. They've given that stuff away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously with Xbox and Microsoft Game Pass, I don't know about giving it away, but it's part of their offering.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the game preservation strategy, or the lack of one,
Mm.
and no backwards compatibility for PS1 to 3 is a little bit painful.
Yeah, that was a big one for me on deciding factors around PS3.
Yeah, I'm hoping they do a bit more around that.
Mm.
I think they got to get in a position where they themselves feel it's a factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think they feel it's a factor at all. I
Mm-hmm.
think they're thinking full steam ahead, and they're probably thinking, well, these are old games. Who really cares? To a degree, they're right. It's not the majority of people. It's
Yeah.
the vocal few. The
Mm-hmm.
people like me that have been playing games for so long, I
I
can remember these
I
titles.
don't know.
You know what I
I
mean?
I
It's
don't know. There's still that nostalgia, retro gaming. Yeah, there was the whole minis, right? Yeah, the SNES Mini,
yeah, yeah,
the PlayStation One Mini.
yeah,
Although actually, the PlayStation One wasn't that great, if I remember correctly. It was really badly optimized, if I
yeah. It
remember.
kind of says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Sony should at least think about this as is goodwill. If
Yeah.
you want to continue being the product that core gamers, want to
Yeah.
own, that's one of the ways to be in that
Yeah. I
conversation.
mean, they can't afford to
Yeah.
be really, because like with these things, and I think gamers can be, they'll basically it'll be based on their, they'll basically protest with their wallet, or they'll just go to something else really. So
Well, yeah, I know. But as soon as the next AAA title comes out and it looks so, I mean, people may forget, right?
yeah.
It's like people are still buying GPUs and CPUs for extortionate amounts of money still. So, I mean, the likelihood of that happening
Mm,
doesn't
mm,
feel high,
yeah.
if you know what I mean. Doesn't feel high. I mean, I could be totally wrong.
Mm,
But I'm secretly hoping that Sony have something up their sleeve.
mm,
When it's all said and done,
yeah.
maybe apart from Nintendo, they
Mm,
are the ones with, a massive heritage and back catalogue
yeah.
and IP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even including Nintendo, if you think about maybe the sheer volume of games and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that they've still got something up their sleeve. They start respecting their own heritage.
Yeah.
If not anything else, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean, it's their own legacy. These games are obviously not disappearing, but I just get the feeling that Sony is just more interested in the future versus the past, where I think they should kind of try and find a happy medium.
Yeah. They should. They
Yeah,
should try to.
yeah.